Certified financial planner professionals are certified to provide comprehensive financial planning that can address just about any facet of one's financial life, including retirement, estate planning, taxes, education, and more. For more info, go to letsmakeaplan.org to find a CFP professional for you.
We are back in better than ever. Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and we hope that everyone had a safe and fun and relaxing Labor Day weekend. Now we hit the ground running. We've got football behind us, football in front of us. It's everywhere we look. Plus, Stanton and Maris, as we speak, are neck and neck. And anytime they want to get around to a decision on Zeke Elliott, will be just fine with us. Big fella, we're ready to go. How we feeling today?
Man, let me tell you, awesome. All the great football to watch. Finish off with a great, exciting college football game last night. Back in Atlanta again with Tennessee and Georgia Tech going 2 overtimes. It was a lot of fun to watch that game to finish off an incredible football weekend. From the college side, great golf that went on. I watched a lot of tennis yesterday as well. So it was been a lot of fun. After going to Notre Dame and seeing the new, finally Notre Dame with a video board and watching replays and stuff. So it was a good weekend.
Who did you watch in the tennis? I'm just curious. The first thing Golick said to me, and we're certainly not going to start with this, but the first thing
Nadal.
You watched Nadal yesterday?
I watched Nadal.
I'm glad to hear you watched the tennis.
Yeah. I watched some Federer.
Mm-hmm.
On the women's side, who did I watch? Some of the.
Okay, but it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just glad we went out Sunday. It's such a great event. It's such a terrific thing. If you get the chance to do, if you're in New York or you get a chance to go, it's a terrific event.
It seems like one of those things, not to be derailed already from this, but that to see in person, I know you were there, at least from the men's side, how hard they hit the ball.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be ridiculous.
Yeah, both sides. The women hit it hard, too, but the men, obviously, it's a different level.
Yeah.
No, it's the athleticism involved in that sport. Some people shortchange tennis for whatever reason. I don't know. It's got sort of an elitist country club
yes, it does.
Sort of reputation and probably well-earned. But let me tell you, I will put those guys up as athletes against anybody out there.
Yeah, we'll talk a lot about that. I mean, from the women's side of the U.S., women that are left to the men's side with Nadal and Federer hopefully meeting up in the semis, we'll see.
Which was a ridiculously bad decision.
Horrible.
Going back to the beginning, they should have put them on opposite sides of the draw because everyone's attention will be on that match, and the final will be completely anticlimactic. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get to business. All right, we'll start with a couple of notes on the baseball. How about the night for J.D. Martinez and the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, not too bad at all. J.D. Martinez, well, first, as a team, they shut out the Dodgers, who, by the way, have not been performing too well as of late. What, lost 9 of their last 10, I believe it is. They lost 13-0 to the Diamondbacks. J.D. Martinez hits 4 home runs. He's the first player to hit 4 home runs in a game against a team that was at least 25 games above 500. First player to homer in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning of the same game. First player in a 4-home-run game to have more home runs than the opponent had hits. The Dodgers only had 3, and he's the third player to homer off 4 different pitchers in a game. Really just an amazing stat. They're the only team in MLB. What would you think really quickly? I want to quiz you on this.
Yeah.
More in baseball history, unassisted triple plays, 4 home run games, or perfect games?
The most, I'm going to say unassisted triple plays is the least. I'm going to say there's more 4 home run games than there are perfect games.
There are less. This is interesting. The rarest occurrences in baseball, there's only been 5 20 strikeout games. Next is 15 unassisted triple plays. 18 4-home run games, 23 perfect games. Then you get into 273 no-hitters, 318 cycles, and all that.
I would have thought there would have been more 4-home run games than that. Well, J.D. Martinez added to that list last night. You were right, by the way, that the Dodgers have lost 9 out of 10. They're still up 12.5 games in the division. And by the way, Martinez, 4 home runs overshadowed what was a huge performance by Robbie Ray.
Robbie Ray, 14 strikeouts. His 4 10-strikeout games against the Dodgers this season. Incredible. He's the first pitcher all time with 4 10-strikeout games against the Dodgers in a season. His 53 strikeouts against the Dodgers this season are the second most all time. Christy Mathewson did it in 1908. He had 58 strikeouts. Ray has 53. Oh, by the way, he had a couple RBIs as well.
Off the top.
Giancarlo Stanton hit his 53rd home run of the season yesterday. So as I mentioned in the open, he and Maris, now, of course, it isn't really the record chase.
No, it's not.
Some people will view it in some degree of that way. He and Maris are right now neck and neck.
Yep, they are. At this date, Maris, Stanton, and one of the years of Sammy Sosa At 53 home runs to this point. He has a 15 home run lead over the next closest, which is Aaron Judge. 261 home runs in his first 8 seasons. He passed Prince Fielder for 10th most home runs through a player's first 8 seasons. So he's homering. Unfortunately, the Marlins are losing, though, not helping them much there.
Off the top.
Golick watched the golf yesterday, which means he saw Justin Thomas continue what has been a sensational season on a day filled with big performances from big names.
Justin Thomas, 6th player since 1990 to win 5 times with a major in a single season. The only player to do it and fail to win the PGA Tour Player of the Year was Jason Day. He was beaten by another player who won 5 titles with 2 majors. That was Jordan Spieth. By the way, of 5 wins in a major and with a major, Tiger Woods has done it. We have all these names like Nick Price did it in 94, Vijay Singh did it in 2004, Jason Day 2015. Tiger Woods did it 7 times.
7 times.
7 times. He won at least 5, including a major.
It was an element of dominance that you're never going to see.
No, you're not. Right? You're not going to see that.
And certainly, it's the kind of thing that comes along, once every other generation.
Off the top.
And finally, Golick, watch this as well. Rafa and Roger both continue to advance at the U.S. Open on their way to what will be a showdown ridiculously in the semifinals.
Yeah, it's a shame that's going to happen. But, and I love Nadal when asked about it, the possibility of the matchup. He said, let's talk about it when we get there.
Yeah.
They each have another match to go. I'm more impressed. Let's talk about the other side. How about the American women left? Venus Williams, Sloane Stephens, Madison Keys, and Coco Vandeweghe. That's one of the people I watched yesterday as well. It's the first time that many American ladies reached the quarterfinals at a major since Wimbledon in 2003. And how about for Sloane Stephens? She's in action today. On August 7th, she was ranked 934th in the world. Then she had back-to-back semifinal runs in Toronto and Cincinnati. She jumped to number 83.
Yeah.
And she's one of the 4 U.S. women left, so pretty cool there.
And that's
Off the top.
Off the top with Mike and Mike, brought to you by Zipa. Go to Zipa.com. That's ZYPPAH.com. You can get a Zipa so you can stop snoring and enjoy the summer. We hope you enjoyed the summer, and obviously the calendar tells us that it is still summer until September 21st.
No, summer's over.
For most of us, Labor Day comes, and that's it. You put away the white slacks, which I know, Golick, you enjoy wearing.
I kept I am going to wear some white shorts still, but I put the slacks away.
The white shorts will be what for our golf? The Golick is already starting to try to talk his way out of our golf match on Thursday.
We're golfing Thursday. Me, you, Mike Periano, Mike Watts, all the Mikes.
It's the Mike's Open.
We all golfed together at Old Memorial years ago. We're going to finish up with a golf match this Thursday. And listen, A, I'm not walking.
We're walking.
And B, if it's raining, I'm not golfing. I mean, it's very simple. I'm not a complicated man. You, Watts, and Periano, you guys are all golf nuts. You'll walk and you'll play in the rain. I will not walk and I will not play in the rain. So enjoy the threesome, by the way, if it's raining.
He does not like it, Sam. No. I am. We'll see if that winds up working out. Meanwhile, all right, let me just very quickly go through this. I thought it was sort of a nice, quick, concise thing that Sam Farmer put together yesterday in the LA Times, because the NFL is back, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, it is.
If you, like I, managed to avoid most of the preseason, then you've not really been in any way exposed to some of the things that will be different about pro football this year. So let's go through them quickly. Some of the rules changes in the NFL this year. Number 1, celebrations. The rules are relaxed on celebrations. Players have more room to have fun in celebrating big plays. Group celebrations are allowed now, and players can use the football as a prop.
Yes, they can.
It isn't anything goes. The league determines if violent, sexually inappropriate, or taunting, those things will still constitute a penalty.
Okay.
That's just funny. Sexually inappropriate or taunting. Okay, next thing, and this one is much more significant because it'll happen perhaps as soon as this weekend, and you'll say to yourself, wait a minute, I'd forgotten they made this change. Overtime is now 10 minutes.
Right.
Remember, we talked about that for one day, and then we all went back to our lives?
So we did.
Well, now is when it becomes a factor again. The length of the overtime period has been reduced from 15 minutes to 10 minutes. It is still, however, at 15 minutes for the postseason, which I think is far less relevant because in the postseason, obviously, they're going to play it out. It will not end in a tie no matter what. In the regular season, 10 minutes, and it will end in a tie. Replay reviews are going to look different. No more sideline monitors, Mike, for officials. They'll now review plays on handheld devices, and designated members of the NFL officiating department in New York will be authorized to make the final call on replay reviews. So is our expectation that those will be faster? Will it be a little bit more efficient?
That's what they're looking for. Let's wait to see it in use, if it's going to be or not.
You're grounded is the way he describes this. No, my favorite play in the sport is gone. Defensive players can no longer take a running start and jump over the offensive line at the line of scrimmage to try and block a field goal or an extra point.
Yeah, because you're not allowed to. Not allowed to talk. Not allowed to hit the center at all, and you can't be within a yard by the snap of that. So you had to time that thing really, really well, and there was really no way around it unless your guard basically stood up and tried to block the guy. And what you do is you just put a guy over a guard. You just ram right into him. I'm bummed at that. I like the athleticism of timing that, because I put it on the kicking team. Just vary up they're very regimented. You'll see the holder look at the kicker, and then the kicker kind of nod when he's set, and then the holder looks back and puts his hand out, and it's kind of a timing thing. God forbid we make them throw off their timing. God forbid we make them have to time it a little bit differently so they can't let a guy with incredible athletic ability jump over a center. Let's just make sure we keep doing everything so people can score as many points as they can. Perfect.
Yeah, I'll finish.
Come on.
I'll fill in the unspoken one there. God forbid they do anything for the defense.
Are you kidding me? Wait a minute. There's athletes on that side of the ball, and they're doing something athletic to stop scoring? Let's get that out of the game.
Yeah, that doesn't fit into DraftKings this week.
Are you kidding me?
Well, defense and special teams, they are significant. Actually, the Jets are a very good buy on DraftKings this weekend against probably a rookie quarterback.
All right, under 12 minutes. First mention of the Jets.
Just on defense.
Mm-hmm. Whenever you mentioned them.
There will be no others. Touchbacks are coming out to the 25 again this year. That continues not to be a permanent rule. It is on a year-to-year basis. It didn't work in year one, let's face it. They flat out they wanted more touchbacks. They got less.
Yep.
Teams aren't going to kick the ball in the end zone if it comes out to the 25, but that's where it's coming. And then finally, 2 strikes and you're out. If a player is penalized twice in the same game for certain types of unsportsmanlike conduct fouls, he is automatically ejected. Those are a few of the rules that we can look forward to as the NFL gets started. And we want to hear from you this morning. Mm-hmm. We are bringing back hashtag Too Far Tuesday.
Right.
We are looking for hot takes, if you will. We're looking for predictions from you on things you expect to see that might be pushing the envelope. Don't be ridiculous.
Right.
Like you had one that you liked.
I had one that Tom Brady is playing so great in the NFL that they're retroactively going to give him the Heisman Trophy from when he was at Michigan. That's too far.
We'll save that for much too far
there
Tuesday.
You go, yeah.
Today we're going to go just a little bit too far. And we got this idea. We did it last year, but we wanted to resurrect it this year because I saw a couple of good hot takes that NFL Nation put out.
Saw it.
So let me read you a hot take, Mike, and you tell me you agree or disagree. This one is on the Patriots, and Mike Reese posted it. Talk of a potential undefeated season will end early, he says. The Patriots will lose one of their early season games, potentially as soon as week 2 at New Orleans. Issues at defensive end and depth at left tackle will show up early before the team finds its groove.
Home to Kansas City, at New Orleans, home to Houston, home to Carolina. That's their first 4 games. Listen, it's the NFL. I get it. And in New Orleans, they can score a lot of points, and we'll see where they are defensively. But I don't, if you're asking me, I'm betting on New England until they lose. They're like Alabama. I will bet New England, I will bet Alabama until they lose.
They also have about a half a bye week leading into that New Orleans game for what it's worth because they play Thursday and then they won't play until the following Sunday. Next NFL Nation hot take from Pat McManaman in Cleveland. This will be the 5th consecutive season, he predicts. The Browns have 3 different starters at quarterback. He predicts that Kaiser, Kessler, and Hogan will all start games. Agree or disagree?
I'm going to disagree on that. They took care of their O-line a bit on the interior of that, where the quarterbacks are just getting destroyed last year. They need to find out what Kaiser can do and if he's going to be that quarterback. So I think he gets every benefit of the doubt. So I would imagine we're talking about injury there. So I don't see that. I don't see that happening. I think that O-line is going to be better for them this year, and I do not think they'll have 3 starters.
One more NFL Nation hot take to set up our Too Far Tuesday. This one's on the Giants, and it is the Giants will finish as the league's top defense in yards and points. It's the second year in the system for Janoris Jenkins, Damian Harrison, Olivier Vernon, Jason Pierre-Paul is another year removed from the fireworks accident. A couple of safeties they upgraded from last year. This unit takes it to another level, it says, and the Giants will be the league's #1 defense in both yards allowed and points allowed. Does Golick agree?
That wouldn't shock me. I mean, that is one I wouldn't bet the house against. They're an excellent defense. They get after the quarterback. They have rushers. I like their secondary as well. Certainly what Collins has done, no doubt about that. And so, yeah, that would not stun me at all if that were to happen. I like that defense a lot. It's something that's going to, I think, we know their passing game's going to have to carry him. Odell Beckham, we'll see. He was on the stationary bike at their last practice where he comes along with that ankle, not only when he can come back and play, but further tweaking it. They don't have a great running game. We talked about that offensive line, so they're going to have to live on defense and the pass.
All right, so let's hear from you. #TooFarTuesday. Give us your NFL hot takes. Give us a prediction that, again, don't take it much too far.
Right.
Just a little too far on this Tuesday as we get set to kick off the NFL season with you. Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. More independent agents sell Progressive Insurance than any other brand. Find an agent at Progressive.com. Now that's Progressive. And before we get to all the NFL action, Mike, let's look back on the college weekend because I'm sure a lot of people were out of their routine yesterday. Thank you to Mikey and Stu for ably filling these seats yesterday. But to go through the college stuff, let's start with the big game, Mike. And that was, there were a lot of big games. But Alabama-Florida State was the monster game on the schedule, and it certainly lived up. And I watched all of it. It lived up in terms of drama. It was for a game that had as little scoring. I mean, if you didn't see it, all the Alabama points came in that little flurry, basically, with the special teams errors. But it had a lot of drama, and of course, the worst of it being DeAndre Francois being out for the year.
Listen, it ended up being a 24-7 win. So now, Nick Saban is 11-0 against former assistant coaches and all double-digit wins by at least 14 points.
Correct.
So they did it again here. They just kind of do what Alabama does. It's a close game, and then they just kind of one way or another, for some reason, in this case, it was special teams, a block field goal, a block punt, that helped them along the way. And Alabama just keeps churning it out. The shame of it is, now listen, Florida State and Jimbo Fisher saying exactly the right thing. He said it's nowhere written in the rule book that our season is over because we lost a starting quarterback. Nowhere written that the next guy coming in, which is going to be a freshman, by the way, and Blackman coming in, it can't play well. And I agree with that. But it is a shame. I mean, really looking at it, DeAndre Francois gets hurt toward the end of the game. A lot of people saying, should he have been in the game? I don't want to hear that. Players stay in the game. You play a tough game like that, you stay in the game. I understand that, so I'm not going down that road. But he's done for the season, hurts his knee. And it's a shame because that is Florida State is a championship defense, not a playoff champ. They are a championship defense. They are an excellent defense. That Derwin James is incredible. The player that he is, the versatility that he has, and Alabama has an excellent defense. It was a low scoring game until some of those things went on special teams. But I loved it. I loved the defensive game. It was. So Florida State loses their quarterback. That is just a monster blow. Alabama actually lost a couple of starting linebackers as well, one with an elbow, one with a torn biceps. So they'll have to go into their depth right away from the linebacking position. But for Florida State, much worse there, losing Francois, a guy ready to take that next step as a second-year starter. So that's going to be trouble for them. We both thought the loser of this game, and we thought it was going to be Florida State, would not come back to make the playoffs, and that was even if they had DeAndre Francois. I just don't see it happening.
Me neither. You leave yourself no margin for error. Again, I love that they schedule these early season games. If I was a coach, I wouldn't do it. That has nothing to do. The way the game turns out has nothing to do with it. We mentioned Alabama's losses, and we should also mention, for those who've not heard, absolutely tragic news.
Horrible.
Within the Alabama football program, the son of their assistant coach, Mike Loxley, was shot and killed in Maryland on Sunday, which left, as the story says here, players and coaches with a lot more than football on their minds. On Monday, Nick Saban said that the program will support the coach and the family in any way they can. Tragic
news, going after that game. There's such a build-up for the game, and that obviously takes front and center. As Nick Saban said, they'll do anything they need to do to support Mike and the family. So that was horrible.
Michigan, Florida next was a game that people had a lot of eyes on, and I know you had some questions about Michigan and a rebuild rebuilding kind of a year. That defense looks
Defense is
awfully
fantastic.
good.
Defense, I talked about Florida State and championship defense. That Michigan defense is for real. You know, a lot of people are going to talk about Florida with the 10 players missing. A couple were starters, their top running back, top receiver. Others were kind of depth guys. But that Michigan defense is absolutely for real. The Florida offense, again, is going to be bad. They just don't have a quarterback. You know, they started with the kid Franks, went to Malik Zaire, the transfer from Notre Dame, and it just wasn't working out. You know, they still have Del Rio, who was in that mix as well. They're going to struggle there offensively. I do like their defense. If they didn't have a couple of pick sixes there, you know, this game would have been an absolute
Same
blowout.
thing happened in the Ohio State game last year with Michigan. You'll recall they dominated the action for so much of that day, and then a couple of big mistakes on interceptions wound up being an enormous factor in that game long before any officials' calls, one way or the other. Michigan, I believe Michigan's defense is for real.
They are for
Harbaugh's
real.
getting his guys in there now, so he likes big, stout.
Listen, that's Big Ten. He likes that, and you know they only had X amount of starters coming back. He's got a number of guys in that defense who saw a number of some time, so they just weren't starters. So sometimes that's skew a little bit. Plus, you know, he's bringing in great talent as a recruiter, and their defense is excellent.
For those of you who didn't see the game, don't let the final score fool you. The Michigan defense allowed 3 points on the opening drive and no more the rest of the way, and they allowed Florida 11 rushing yards on the day. Michigan is for real. Golick was happy with Notre Dame's performance. I was happy with Northwestern's win. So all of that is on the table this morning as well. All right, we're rolling on. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Great guest list today on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Peter King to start the season with us. Stu Gotts today, and Darren Woodson and Paul Feinbaum, and a whole lot more. And don't forget the hashtag Too Far Tuesday. Let's hear from you. Your picks for the upcoming NFL season. Coming up, we'll go around the NFL, including, Mike, a trade that I believe spoke volumes about the future of maybe the greatest player of all time.
Hey everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Right now.
That's the second time I've done that. Can you guys take the 5-point stance sounder off of my board? Because obviously, I always hit that one wrong. I wanted to hit a little football sound effect to set up our Too Far Tuesday. That's the one that I meant to hit, but right above it, there's another one that has words on it, and whatever. I'd love to have the last 20 seconds of my life back
There
again.
you go.
The hashtag is Too Far Tuesday this morning with Mike and Mike, and we're taking your hot takes, but we don't want them too hot. We want them like lukewarm today. We want like slightly above room temperature.
Are you saying
takes.
just kind of ease into this?
Well, don't give like you gave a good example. Don't give me like Tom Brady will be so good they'll retroactively give him the Heisman.
Yeah, let's not get crazy, but you can get out there a little bit. You know, something that is possibility of happening.
Yeah, so you tell me, Mike, how hot is this take? Is it too hot for you or not hot enough? Crimson Joe tweets, the Cleveland Browns will finish tied for second in the AFC North. Hashtag Too Far Tuesday.
I like I didn't say second, tied for second.
That's a very specific prediction.
It is.
It sort of tempers it. Assuming we think that Pittsburgh is the team to beat there, is he suggesting that they will finish tied with Cincinnati for second?
Or Baltimore?
Is it possible that, we've now run through all of the options.
Yes, we have.
I guess in theory, if Ben gets hurt, which has happened in recent years, the Steelers could fall out of that. I'm going to say that one's too hot for my taking.
I don't mind going off. I don't mind that
too hot.
one.
Too hot. That takes too hot.
No,
they're not finishing.
Are you
in that
enamored
division.
with Baltimore or Cincinnati?
I'm much more enamored with Cincinnati than I am with Cleveland.
Okay, all right.
To me, that take is too hot.
I don't mind that take.
Let me see here. How about this one? Casey Castillo. David Carr will struggle and have more interceptions than touchdowns. Hashtag Too Far Tuesday. Here's what I like about it.
First thing he should do is get the quarterback's name right.
Right. It is Derek Carr.
Yes.
I'm assuming he's referring to Derek Carr.
David Carr is an analyst
because if he is actually referring to David Carr, then the prediction is null and void.
Yeah.
If he means Derek Carr, that's a hot take. I mean, that would be an extremely hot take.
What happens first? Derek Carr throws for more interceptions than touchdowns, or Cleveland finishes tied for second in the division?
I like Cleveland better.
Me too.
I like the possibility. That's a little too hot.
Me too.
How about Buck Seckler tweets at us, a running back will win MVP this year, #TooFarTuesday.
I mean, that's a good.
I mean, I thought it could have happened last year. I honestly thought you could have easily given the when you took everything into account. I thought you could have given Zeke Elliot the MVP award last year and completely justified it.
That would not shock me at all if that were to happen.
Now, it isn't going to be Zeke, obviously.
No.
Depending upon what happens.
Yeah.
The last running back to win Most Valuable Player was Adrian Peterson in 2012. You know, could a guy like Le'Veon Bell win the MVP award?
David Johnson, depending on what the team does, I think, as well.
If Arizona were to put together a stunningly good season, then that's what it's going to have to be.
That's
I think in this day and age of the NFL, unless a guy goes over 2,000 yards, you're going to need a guy who's going to put the combination of pass catching and running on a really good team.
Those two guys are the top two guys to do it, and right off the bat, you would say Pittsburgh would be the team you could go that you think would go further.
Keep those coming all morning long. We're taking your tweets to the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed the first Too Far Tuesday of the season. We like our takes hot, but not too hot. And we remind you can watch and listen to your favorite games and shows on the ESPN app. It's simple, it's easy, it keeps you connected. Take ESPN with you everywhere. Download the ESPN app right now. All right, of all the things that happened this weekend, and I mean all of them, the one that I think had the most interesting and significant repercussions long term was the New England Patriots trading away Jacoby Brissett. They traded away their third-string quarterback who played admirably, was drafted in the third round not long ago. I mean, he's a player that there are people in the league who think he has a future at the quarterback position, including Bill Parcells in a big way. They traded him to the Colts for Philip Dorsett, we would assume, as a result of the Edelman injury. Mm-hmm. But what does this mean, big picture? It means you've got Brady, who is 40. It means you've got Garoppolo, who is a free agent at the end of this season. I think, Mike, what it means is that Bill Belichick has made up his mind that he's not letting Jimmy Garoppolo go, no matter what happens. And the only way to do that is to franchise him next year. So they will franchise him, and that means, assuming Brady is still there and playing well and at a high level, that you are going to have Garoppolo as sort of in waiting, making more money than Tom Brady.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't.
Well, you tell me how else it plays out. Why else do they trade Jacoby Brissett, who is an able-bodied backup and doesn't cost you practically any money?
Well, I think there's one thing to having Garoppolo on the team to know you're a Super Bowl team, or for the chance that Brady might get hurt. You have a guy that could step right in and keep the team going to help still win the Super Bowl. I'm not going to lie. I think it's ridiculous, the talk of Brady and the possibility of Garoppolo taking over next year and this being Brady's last year. I think it's a joke.
Why?
I think Brady's going to be the next 2 or 3 years. I think it's ridiculous to think that the year he had, that there's going to be such fall off after this year that you're going to say, oh, yeah, we're going to dump Brady and sign Garoppolo and he's a quarterback of the future is nuts. I think you're nuts. I think anybody who says that is nuts. Brady is the quarterback for this team for 2 to 3 more years without question. And I think any talk of Garoppolo taking his job, I've heard people saying, has Garoppolo closed the gap? My God, people, what are you talking about? Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to play this game, had one of his best seasons last year. He's not going anywhere for the next couple of years. And any talk of it, in my eyes, is ridiculous.
No, it isn't, because he's 40 years old. He's 40 years old.
As I said, 2 to 3 more years. Any talk of Garoppolo taking over next year is ridiculous.
Well, listen to me, okay?
I've heard you say it time and time again, and it's ridiculous.
The actions speak louder than words in everyone's case, and especially with Belichick, because he never says anything. But the trade of Brissett, Mike, is a major step in that direction. You're taking a backup who was under control now going forward. If you were to lose, just play it out.
I played it out.
Brady is
I
the
know
quarterback.
the play out. I get it. I've been around this for a while.
So
I
then
get
tell
it.
me what happens next year.
What happened? Well, my point is they could do that. I'm not saying they won't. My point is all of you that are saying, well, they're going to do to Brady what they've done to everybody else. He'll have some time left. He'll be gone. They're going to put Garoppolo in there. Whatever they do with Garoppolo, I don't care if they franchise him. I'm telling you that Brady will be the quarterback for 2 or 3 more years to that team. But I don't care if they want to franchise Garoppolo. Give him a big. Well, they couldn't give him a deal that somebody else would give him. They would have
to franchise him. Realistically speaking,
that's fine. If you're saying I'm not, no, I get it. They might do that. Where I think you are.
Why
nuts.
do you do that? Play it out. Why do you do that? You do that because you believe he's your quarterback of the future. You don't want to pay that guy $25 million
until Brady
to never
keeps playing well, and you're not taking him off the field.
You will take him off the field.
No, you will
when
not.
He starts to show slippage, which reasonably speaking has to happen.
Get back to me when it happens. Get back to me when it happens. So, and as I said, 2 to 3 more years, he'll be the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots. Whatever you want to do with Garoppolo, that's fine. You want to keep paying, you want to franchise him, go ahead. I don't care. I'm just telling you what I think is going to happen. And anybody who sits there and keeps saying it's going to change earlier than that, I think you're nuts.
It's a hell of a lot of money to pay a guy if you're not planning
on
paying him.
Yes,
when
it is.
You had...
And it'd be a hell of a stupid move if Brady is still playing well to put him on the shelf.
Well, if Brady is still playing well, it doesn't even come up.
That's exactly right. That's my point.
But Belichick is smart enough to recognize that Brady, among other things, is a human being.
Okay, right.
And human beings, no matter what, it has to start happening.
So he's playing the odds. I get it. All I'm saying is I think Brady has 2 to 3 more years. What don't you understand about that?
That part of it is fine.
We're agreeing.
But you don't think that the trade of Brissett is telling in some way?
Telling in what way? Garoppolo was going to be the quarterback of the future. We all knew that. They didn't trade him away. If they didn't trade him away last year.
They can't control him forever.
I understand that.
They can only control Garoppolo for a limited period of time.
Because they didn't trade them. I knew this already. Trading Brissett didn't mean anything to me. Them not trading Garoppolo was the thing that was important. It said, we want him on this team. A, in case Tom gets hurt, we think this guy can step in and still lead us to the Super Bowl. And B, he's going to be our guy of the future. I knew that when they didn't trade him. Trading Brissett didn't do anything for me. That just gave him some more weapons, which they obviously can use.
Yeah, again, I think that is a result of the Edelman injury,
right?
Which is fine. And I was so disappointed that Austin Carr didn't make that team, and I really believe he would have played great there. He got signed by the Saints, so I'm happy for him. But either way, to me anyway, trading away Brissett leaves you with no security blanket, or whatever the word I'm looking for is. So you can't lose Garoppolo.
Give me the last years where they've only gone with 2 quarterbacks. That's what New England does. They have 2 quarterbacks on the roster.
I understand.
So they don't have 3. So they weren't going to have 3. So Brissett got traded away.
Well, I mean, last year they had 3.
They had
obviously,
3, right?
They had these 3 guys.
Look at the next,
but Brady was suspended for the first 4 games.
You look at the amount of years, go back X amount of years, 2 quarterbacks, 2 quarterbacks, 2 quarterbacks. That's what they have. This Brissett trade didn't do anything for me. Them not trading Garoppolo, to me, was the thing that we're going to try and hang on to him to see how things go.
So, to me, just to sum up my feeling on this, the actions dictate that Belichick has they suggest, I shouldn't say dictate, that Belichick has decided that Garoppolo is the future of quarterback in New England. That. Well, but they can only control him for so long.
I understand that.
So, I mean, 3 years at this point seems like that's going to be – now, look, anything can happen.
Sure can.
They could franchise Garoppolo and decide to move on from it, but that feels like a very unusual circumstance. All right, well, we'll see. My Too Far Tuesday is that Jimmy Garoppolo will be the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots a lot sooner than Golick thinks he's going to be, but that obviously remains to be seen. Let's keep getting yours. We have all kinds of other news out there, including stunning trade news of an entirely other variety, and I don't know what to make of it.
Sports fans anywhere can earn a nationally recognized degree from Penn State. Online. Whether you're starting or finishing your degree, study where and when it's convenient for you. Choose from more than 125 programs to become a top prospect in your field and advance your career. Learn more at worldcampusinfo.com. Penn State World Campus, a world of possibilities. Online. Visit worldcampusinfo.com today. That's worldcampusinfo.com.
All right, we're taking your tweets this morning with the hashtag #TooFarTuesday and a couple of other ones. Again, we're looking for takes that are reasonable. Jokingly, I'm saying I don't want them to be too hot. We're looking for lukewarm takes here. How about Zach Stratton tweets at us, Aaron Rodgers will beat Tom Brady's single-season touchdown record, hashtag #TooFarTuesday. Something like that, I think, is reasonable.
Yeah,
Rodgers seems to be gearing up for a huge
Yeah, he really does. So I like a take like that. Jim says the Saints will lead the league in rushing. I don't see that.
Neither do I.
I don't see that.
Yeah, they have Peterson now.
Yeah.
And so maybe they'll have a little bit more balance. I was actually reading a story out of one of the New Orleans papers, I forget where it was, about Peterson catching passes out of the backfield.
Yeah, but I still say watch Ingram's from your fantasy play. Ingram does the job of catching that ball great out of the backfield.
Right, but then so the combination now you have a little more
right.
depth there. And then Paul Carty tweets, here's a too-far take. The Raiders will have both the offensive and defensive MVPs in Carr and Mack.
Wow. How about that?
I could see it happening. That could go down as one of the genuinely great drafts.
That would,
You look at teams that have had two players or multiple players in one draft, and there was one year, I believe the Bears, correct me if I'm getting this right, I believe that they drafted Gale Sayers and Dick Butkus the same year. You talk about like teams that have had great drafts. The Steelers, one of their drafts was legendary that set up the team that wound up winning all those championships in the 70s. Drafting Derek Carr and Khalil Mack in the same year might wind up being one of those kind of drafts.
Well, you're not kidding. What a payoff for them already, let alone going forward.
All right, let me very quickly get this in. It's Straight Talk. It's brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks. No contracts. Just perusing all the different stuff that was out there this weekend. There's this story. The headline just sort of stopped me in my tracks. It's from CBS Sports, and it is a report that the Cavaliers are shopping the first-round pick that they acquired from Boston, which is the Brooklyn pick, in the Kyrie Irving trade. It is projected to be, it would be expected to be, a very high pick in next year's draft, which is expected to be a great draft. This actually was originally a report from Joe Varden of Cleveland.com that states the Cavaliers are taking calls about the pick. Quote, as owners of the Brooklyn #1 pick, which could be a top 5 pick in next year's draft, Cleveland has fielded numerous calls already about a potential trade. Could be part of a major trade package for the Cavs later this year, or conceivably, the Cavs could make that pick next June. Well, conceivably, right. Obviously, if they could. The point is, if they're willing to trade it, we have all looked at that pick as though that is their setting up
good
their
springboard
future
for the future, yeah,
in a post-LeBron world. But I think the best way to keep LeBron is to win a championship. I think it would have to be real tough for him to walk out the door like, okay, celebration, parade, departure.
Yeah.
That's a tough transition.
I agree.
So win a title. So parlay that pick into I don't know exactly who it is, but into someone that you could get right now who would make a significant difference. Is there a player you could see them trading for that would significantly close the gap between themselves and Golden State? Does that exist? Does that trade exist?
I'm trying to think who it would be and where you would go.
And obviously there have to be contract ramifications, salary cap ramifications involved in that as well. It's easy to say, well, could you talk Oklahoma City into trading Russell Westbrook if they think that they're going to eventually lose him as a free agent?
Pick a guy, right?
Could you trade that pick to Oklahoma City for Paul George? There's a rule, I think, about how quickly a guy can get dealt after having been dealt already. I don't know exactly what that is.
I'd like to see from that report what people think what would help them, where they could go.
But, I mean, in a world where Cleveland is trying to – they could go one of two ways.
They're trying to win right now.
That would be the ultimate in trying to win right now, as opposed to trying to set up their future. Because you could set up – look, they could clear the deck. If LeBron leaves, they don't sign Isaiah Thomas back, and then they start all over again with that very high first-round pick. So to trade it away is really pushing all of your chips.
All your chips to say, let's try and win this thing, and if we win this thing, does LeBron really walk away?
That, to me, is a really fascinating thing. If they decide to trade that pick, and who would they trade it for?
What? Yeah.
Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. We are knee-deep in football season and thrilled that you are along for the ride with us on this Too Far Tuesday. Keep those tweets coming with the hashtag Too Far Tuesday. Peter King jumps into the conversation as we continue with thoughts on Zeke Elliott's appeal and a whole lot more. We're waiting, expecting some news on that today. Back in a moment.
First time skydiving?
Sure is.
Okay, you just open the door like this and you jump.
Wait. Should we be like in tandem?
Tandem? That's a great idea!
Are you a certified instructor?
No, but I love parachutes and I love people! Here we go!
You wouldn't take chances with an uncertified skydiving instructor. Don't do it with your finances. Find a certified financial planner professional today at letsmakeaplan.org. CFP. Work with the highest standard.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Football season is finally here, and DraftKings, the leader in one-week fantasy sports, is giving you a shot to be crowned the first ever fantasy football billionaire. Draft the perfect lineup this Sunday, and you can win $1 billion. Just use code REPLAY to play in DraftKings' free contest with $100,000 in total guaranteed prizes this Sunday. And if you draft the perfect lineup, you can win $1 billion. It's free. Why wouldn't you try? DraftKings.com code REPLAY. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Here we are, Mike and Mike. We're rolling along and busy on this Too Far Tuesday. Hope everybody had a great Labor Day. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, they will include our friend Peter King from the MMQB.com. He'll join us shortly. Stu Gotts will join us an hour from now. Darren Woodson today, Paul Feinbaum all around the college. We only got a little bit into some of the big college stories of the weekend. We'll get
some good ones.
Golik's take on a few more of those a little later. And all morning long, your takes using the hashtag #TooFarTuesday. Give us your predictions for the upcoming NFL season. We want reasonable stuff
Push the limits a little bit. I think this was a little easy. I think this actually could happen. This a tweet from Ryan. J.J. Watt will have more touchdown than the Jets have wins.
Oh, then the Jets have wins.
Yeah, not that the Jets have touchdowns.
Well,
no,
I mean,
on.
That one was. I think it's almost indisputable.
J.J. Watt more touchdowns than the Jets have wins.
Yes. Well, I mean, to me that I'm not even sure you could get that bet on the board.
So if J.J. Watt gets to 2 touchdowns, it's a commanding lead.
Probably.
Yeah.
Look, the Jets are probably facing Nathan Peterman. At last I've seen as the starting quarterback for Buffalo this weekend in the openers. That could be, you want to talk about terrible football games.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a terrible, terrible opener if that is what winds up happening around the league. And, of course, we have a bunch of weather-related NFL stuff as well. Houston and Jacksonville, it's confirmed they will play in Houston this weekend. So that's obviously great news.
Yes, it is great news. And
Miami and Tampa may not.
Yeah, with the hurricane, was it Irma?
Irma.
That's coming up there. We'll have to keep an eye on that and take a snapshot of the Las Vegas line. The Los Angeles Rams are favored in the game. Wow.
Don't know what the last time that happened was, and not sure when the next time it'll happen will be. I've seen some interesting prop bets also.
But it's because, real quick, we should explain, it's because Andrew Luck is not playing.
Yeah.
The Colts would be a 3-point favorite if Luck was playing. Luck is not playing. Scott Tolzien gets the start. So the Rams are actually a 6-point swing in the line there.
You know, it's funny. I remember when we first started getting word when they opened camp and Luck's not back and he's not throwing yet, and it was a very it's
I was
no
saying that.
deal.
I was saying no need to have him throw. Just make sure everything is fine. But boy, it has certainly taken a turn, hasn't it?
It's taken a huge turn. So we have all that in the hopper and a whole lot more. But before we get Peter King in here, this is sort of an interesting one. I just threw out there the story that we got from Cleveland.com over the weekend is that the Cavaliers are taking phone calls. I'm going to use the word actively shopping. That might be overstating it, but they're at least open to the idea, it seems, of trading that number 1 pick they got from the Celtics by way of Brooklyn, or actually from Brooklyn by way of the Celtics, in the Kyrie Irving trade, which is an extremely valuable asset. And I think we all looked at it and figured that's their future. That's the pick they're getting to assure themselves of being able to kind of start over again if they lose LeBron. And so we were trying to think, well, if they're really going to trade that, how do they do it? How does the money match up? And I got a note here from our assignment desk, from Chuck at our assignment desk. How do you like this? And the money matches up. The Brooklyn pick and Kevin Love for Anthony Davis. How do you like it?
How would you not like it?
Well, I mean, if you're New Orleans, if you don't believe that Anthony Davis is going to be with you forever,
right.
you don't do it under any circumstances if you're New Orleans, if you believe that Davis is going to play his whole career there.
Oh, it's exactly right.
But if you believe he isn't, then you're building around a high first-round pick and a good player in Love who could sort of reassert himself into being potentially a number one guy, a dominant player. Right now you have DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah,
I don't know
who knows?
what
I don't
that
know how
would mean
long
for
that's
his
gonna last.
future.
Yeah, right.
But that would be, that was the one that immediately jumped in Chuck's mind. He sent it to me.
Well, if you're
Cleveland,
right?
it's the greatest move of all time.
Without a doubt.
The question is, would New Orleans do it? And the answer is probably not. But if they really didn't believe they would keep him, he re-signed when? 2 years ago now?
I think it was 2
years. How many years left does Davis have on his contract? But we're told the money works. So that would be an interesting one if we see how it happens.
Well, that would.
All right, well, we'll see as the summer continues to work on. It's been a very interesting offseason for the NBA. It's been an equally interesting offseason for the NFL, and that offseason is now 2 days away from coming to an end. We kick off on Thursday night, and our friend Peter King from the MMQB is standing by in the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line helping us get set for the start of Pro Football 2017. Good morning, Peter King.
Good morning, man. And, you're talking about Cleveland, and it just seems like the case in every sport in Cleveland. They're always talking about draft choices and trades. And it almost seems like, especially with the Browns, really, that almost seems to be as important. The second season is as important as the real season. And it looks like it's starting to be the same way with the Cavs, too.
Be careful, Peter. I'm from Cleveland.
Listen,
be careful.
The Cavs, the Browns have 2 drafts in 2018.
Yeah,
right.
They do.
They have 2 drafts. They have 2 ones. They have 3
Mike,
twos.
You know what?
Yeah.
What they have. I mean, what's the amazing thing when you think about these Browns is that over 2015 versus 2018, they've got 48 draft choices. I mean, that's more than you need to fill a team. That's over 4 drafts. That's like 16 more draft picks than you're supposed to have normally in the NFL. So, I mean, they better make a team out of this. I don't know what I'd do if I was Jimmy Haslam, and in 2018 or 19, I'm not competitive. I think you throw up your hands and basically say, the curse is real.
Well, I mean,
but anyway, you got to give him the chance. You got to give Kaiser the chance and see what happens.
That was my thought. I mean, if they've been so inept over the years, I guess you just have to wait and see how this latest plan turns out, right? I don't know if anybody is saying, oh, yeah, they have it figured out now, but at least you have to give them the time to see where they're going, correct?
Absolutely. And they should. And I talked to Haslam at length during training camp, and he said, this is our team. This is my team, and we're giving them the opportunity. So I don't care if they go 2-14 this year. Hugh Jackson's not in jeopardy. Sashi Brown's not in jeopardy. They'd have to rob a bank in Cleveland and rob in daylight to lose their jobs.
All right, so let's move on to other things here, Peter, and let's start with a trade. So the Patriots kick off the season on Thursday night against the Chiefs. I know you have something special planned for that, and we'll get to that in a second. But in the first hour of our show today, Mike and I got a little bit into the Jacoby Brissett trade over the weekend, which stunned me. And I think that it has a lot of ramifications. What was your takeaway, and what does it mean, big picture, for the future of Jimmy Garoppolo in New England?
I don't think it means anything for Jimmy Garoppolo. I honestly don't. I think this means that the Patriots had a good chip to use, especially after his great performance Thursday night in the inter-squad scrimmage. I refuse to call it any sort of a game against the Giants. But he had developed to the point where he was worth something. And so now the Patriots simply made a trade for a potentially significant piece, Philip Dorsett. And I know everybody wants to say, well, this means they're going to franchise Garoppolo next year and all that stuff because they don't have the insurance now with Brissett. I don't think it means that at all. I think it means the Patriots will see where they are in February 2018. I don't think this guarantees anything.
So let's stay with the Patriots. They open up against Kansas City on Thursday. What do you have planned for that opening game?
Well, we're gonna cover the game pretty extensively, but for the first time in 34 years I've covered the NFL, I'm not going to write anything after the game. I'm going to do a live podcast after the game, and we're going to post it. And we're just, media's changed so much, guys, that what we're trying to do is sort of keep up, be new, be different, and so we'll have a live podcast up at 5:30 a.m. on Friday at the MMQB, and we're looking forward to that.
Fun. Mike and Mike, Peter King is with us. Okay, let's move on to other matters. We are waiting. I'm assuming any minute now, any hour now, any time now, we will hear something from Harold Henderson on the Zeke Elliott appeal, and then it will go into whatever the next stage of this thing is. What is your expectation of what is about to happen, and what do you think it all means for the league and its relationship with the players?
Well, I think, as we all know, everybody expects Harold Henderson, the appeals officer in this, to rule on this before 4 o'clock today. If he doesn't rule by 4 o'clock Eastern time, then Ezekiel Elliott plays Sunday against the New York Giants. But I expect there to be a ruling, and the ruling, I think, judging by the testimony and the fact that there is so much about the accusers, points in this case that have been debated. I will not be surprised if he lessens the sanction from, let's say, 6 to 4 games. But whether that happens or not, I still think the Ezekiel Elliott side will be in court in Texas later today to try to get a temporary restraining order. I don't expect that to be granted, but, when you enter court, anything can happen. My gut feeling is he's probably going to be suspended for the Giants game, but again, it's only a gut feeling. I think we all would go broke trying to predict what's going to happen in court. We did with Tom Brady, and so we'll see what happens. But my gut feeling is he went to the best appeals officer in Harold Henderson, and that gives him the best opportunity for Elliott to get the sanction reduced.
So again, we have till 4 Eastern today to have a decision. If there's no decision, then Zeke will be able to play in Week 1 this week coming up. What is going on in Indy with Andrew Luck? I mean, I was one who was saying, hey, don't worry, he's not throwing in the offseason leading up to camp. That's okay. He'll throw when he's ready. But now, missing Week 1, he's not on the PUP list, so I imagine they're expecting him sometime back between Week 1 and Week 6. Any more clarity on this, or this seems to be a real clouded issue?
It is a cloudy issue, Mike, and I think when I went to Colts training camp in August, one of the things I was told in no uncertain terms is that Andrew Luck was not going to play football until doctors told the Colts he's absolutely 100% healthy. They have seen over the last year plus that he has not been himself. And so Chris Ballard, the new GM, basically said to the doctors, hey, listen, just tell me when he can practice and when he can play and when his shoulder is absolutely 100%. They don't want this to be a lingering issue. And I can't blame Ballard at all, because to me, when I look at the Indianapolis Colts, I think you have to take the long view. If you're going to have Andrew Luck and you're going to be concerned constantly with what shape he's in, that's no way to go through this season or future seasons. So they're taking the conservative way, and that means probably, I think, for more than the first week, Scott Tolzien. I think the big question is, week 2 or 3, does that mean that Jacoby Brissett could play if Tolzien struggles in week 1 against the Rams?
And to boot their center, Ryan Kelly, the good kid they got from Bama in the first round, what was it, last year? He's hurt. He's out for about 8 weeks. Could be a rookie, Deshaun Bond, undrafted kid from Cincinnati, starting at center. So you want to be careful who's in front of Luck and make sure he's ready to go.
Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Peter King is with us. You mentioned in your Monday Morning Quarterback column that trades seem to have been way up this offseason, and particularly this flurry at the end over the last couple of days. What was the cause of that?
In my opinion, there's a new wave of general manager and team in the NFL right now, led by, I think, John Schneider, who in the 2 weeks before the deadline or the roster cut deadline made 6 trades. The Patriots made 5. And I think those teams, basically, everybody looks at those teams, number one, and says, well, if they can do it, why not us? And because teams like that are setting the sort of setting the pace, and they're essentially saying, okay, here's what the market cost of a usable defensive end, Cassius Marsh, is. It's a 5 and a 7, and everybody looks at that, and that's what sets the market. John Schneider's unafraid of setting the market. The Patriots are unafraid of setting the market. And both of them, I think, and you've got other general managers. Rick Spielman likes to trade in Minnesota. Howie Roseman likes to trade. Thomas Dimitroff in Atlanta likes to trade. These are people who are unafraid of making trades. And I think that is one of the big reasons why so many trades have happened so far in 2017 before the season.
To me, Peter, and for both of you guys, I don't think nearly enough was made from an overall impact on the standings kind of way of the trade of Sheldon Richardson to Seattle. For people who haven't had a chance to see him play, and he's been largely on bad teams with the Jets, and there have been a lot of headlines about him that have been not so flattering, and all of them of his own doing, deservedly. He's been a bit of a pain in the neck. But, Peter, he's a great player. I mean, a genuinely great player to plug directly into the middle of the defensive line of an already great defense. This could be an enormous impact or enormously impactful move that the Seahawks made.
I totally agree. It's one of the reasons why I picked Seattle to get to the Super Bowl, because I think if you look at their front, look, when John Schneider drafted Malik McDowell in the second round, it was clear that he wanted a young, three-technique defensive tackle to disrupt the quarterback. He knows that with Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett, even though they're aging, he's going to be able to get to the quarterback from the edge, okay? But he wanted another young stud in the middle of their defensive line. Sheldon Richardson, I agree totally. I think this is a game-changing trade by the Seahawks. And look, they didn't just get him for 2017. They are going to try very hard to get him signed for 2018 and beyond, because they feel like this could be their next Michael Bennett. You know, their next guy who's going to be a real difference maker on a defensive front. And look, Seattle over the last 4 or 5 years has been the best defense in football. And overall. And I think now you got Houston catching up, other teams catching up. To me, I think this is something that John Schneider did not just for this year, but for the next 3 or 4 years.
Peter, looking forward to the start of a new season with you, as always, and we'll check in soon down the road here. Have a great day. Thank you very much.
Sounds great, guys. Thank you very much.
That's Peter King with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Just to finish up thoughts on that, the Jets wanted to get rid of Richardson for a variety of reasons. Yeah. One is that they spent a lot of money on their defensive line last year by re-signing Muhammad Wilkerson, and they've got Leonard Williams.
They're going to be paying.
Who they're going to pay. And Richardson has had a variety of issues.
Of his own doing, you're absolutely right.
But he is an
on the football
incredibly good player.
Let me tell you what, everybody in the NFC just went, are you kidding me? Wait, he's here? And then in that division, I mean, him and Bennett and Averill, Wagner at linebacker, the secondary that they have, oh, my God.
He's young. He's talented. He's ridiculously good.
Yeah, that was a huge, on already what is considered by many the best, if not right there in the team picture of the best defenses. They add that on the D-line.
Peter King came down on your side of the significance of Jacoby Brissett trade and its relevancy towards Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll continue to stand in disagreement to both of you. I don't think that Belichick trades Brissett. This is just my opinion. I don't think he trades Brissett if he hasn't already made up his mind that he's keeping Garoppolo there no matter what happens. And I think that is significant. I do, because if you franchise him next year, you'll have so much money tied up in two quarterbacks between Brady and Garoppolo. Garoppolo will make more than Brady will, because Brady is a bargain at his number considering his brilliance. But you'll have so much money wrapped up in the quarterback position, it will put even them in a little bit of a bind. So I do think it is significant.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, they don't keep three quarterbacks. They did last year because he was suspended, Brady. I mean, other than that, they don't. So that didn't surprise me one bit of what's going on, and we'll just have to wait and see, you know, where we go with the whole Brady thing, and does he slip enough in your what's slip enough in your mind? What's Brady slipping in your mind?
I think it's not a question of numbers or anything. I think it's a question of Belichick looking at it and saying, this is the time. And then it becomes extremely complicated because this is not Richard Seymour and it's not this is Tom Brady, who is, the greatest quarterback of all time. He's like a son to the owner, and that obviously kind of factors into it in a complicated way. And I genuinely believe that he and Belichick love each other. But Belichick has always done whatever is in the best interest of the franchise. I don't think he can if he thinks Garoppolo is the future, it's just this simple. He can't let that guy go. And that becomes really, it could potentially get messy. Maybe it doesn't. I've got a million tweets here of people saying Tom Brady will win the Super Bowl this year and retire. Maybe he will. He keeps talking about wanting to play another 5 years.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, this guy genuinely, and a lot of players do, loves the game.
Yeah.
He loves the game. He feels great right now physically. God knows, he talks about the diet and everything that's going on, and he's in great shape for what he needs to do. I just, as I said, I'll stick by it. 2 to 3 more years. He's a quarterback for the Patriots. Hey, everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT, home, safe home.
All right, we are Mike and Mike Stugatz, Darren Woodson, Paul Feinbaum, and more still on the menu this morning, taking your hashtag Too Far Tuesdays. Then we'll do fill in the blank, and then we'll go through some of the college football from the weekend that we didn't get a chance to touch on and get Mike's thoughts on some of the bigger games and performances. Here are a couple of other hashtag Too Far Tuesday. Your predictions. We're looking for lukewarm takes here. Don't get too crazy.
Push the envelope a little bit, though.
You tell me if this is too far. Robert Simon tweets, Carson Wentz wins MVP and the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
Listen, I mean, I have them behind the Cowboys and the Giants in that division right now, but I like Wentz a lot. I was a fan of his coming out of college. I like what he's done. I like the direction they're going in Philadelphia. Let's see if it's enough right now. Do they have enough all the way around? I mean, you look at the teams they're battling, and everybody has their areas they have to work on. Cowboys defensively, especially secondary. The Giants, running game, O-line. So I think that's perfect for a Too Far Tuesday, where you don't dismiss it out of hand, say there's no way, because you know what? You just never know. You never know who gets hot at times. You never know if there's going to be that surprise team. I don't expect it, but if it were to happen, it wouldn't be so far-fetched where I would say, oh, my God, that's just ridiculous.
Correct. I think it's the perfect definition
I
of the Too Far Tuesday. It's not something I'm projecting to happen, but if it's something – look, there were always things that happen that no one sees coming. Last year on this day, if I had said, here's a Too Far Tuesday, Golick, Dak Prescott is going to be the Rookie of the Year, a legitimate candidate for MVP, and the Cowboys are going to go 14-2, we would have said, yeah, that's a bridge too far, right? Don't be ridiculous.
Right.
And it's exactly what happened. And as it played out, it didn't seem so crazy. So could we see Carson Wentz, who got off to a great start as a rookie last year, get off to a fast start in Philly this year? The additions they brought in on offense on the outside really start clicking, and that team get it going, and maybe the Cowboys take a step back. Maybe no Zeke for several weeks. We'll see. Maybe some of those deficiencies you mentioned with the Giants wind up being more significant than we thought. I think the Giants are going to be really good because I think they have a defense that can overcome almost any mistakes.
That always helps.
And if Marshall is healthy with Marshall and Beckham, I think the Giants are going to be really good. But either way, it's not totally beyond the realm.
This is one that's a little pushing it to be. And Marcus says 2 rookie quarterbacks will start against each other in the playoffs. Now, the one you could possibly see is Deshaun Watson. A lot of people think Houston's a playoff team. So go in the AFC.
Well, Mahomes would be the one.
I was going to say beat Mahomes because the other AFC starters are Kaiser. You don't see the Browns getting there. Mahomes. Yeah, is Peterman? Does he get a lot of starts in Buffalo? Depending on Tyrod Taylor. Do
you expect them in the playoffs?
No, I don't. So I think this is a reach, and in the NFC, I don't see it happening. So I think that one, I don't see any real shot of that one happening. Though with injuries, you can never tell.
Yeah, I mean Trubisky, but the Bears don't feel in any way, shape, or form like a playoff team. So we'll see. Yeah, that's the likelihood of that. While slim, if it were to happen, would be Mahomes and Watson.
I think that would be it, yeah.
Those feel like playoff teams. All right, keep the Too Far Tuesdays coming, and we'll keep going through them all morning long. Good fun to be had. Fill in the blank, meanwhile, is brought to you by Mahindra Tractors and Utility Vehicles. Mahindra USA, the world's #1 selling tractor. Here we go, Golick. Fill in the blank. Number 1, Brock Osweiler will start blank games for the Broncos this season.
Wow. 3. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I do. Let me put it this way. I do think he's going to start some games.
Why?
Well, Lynch, I do not think he's hurt now, but I just do not think Lynch. I had questions about him coming in. Forget even the first round. Questions about him playing. And I think this is a Super Bowl caliber defensive team for sure. And so we'll see, if there's any sign out of Simeon that, he's struggling. I don't think they'll I shouldn't say I don't think they'll hesitate, but I think they will go to Osweiler.
I'm going with my heart over my head. Brock Osweiler will start 0 games for the Broncos this season because Northwestern's old Trevor Siemian will play really well, which he did much of last year.
No, I'm with you.
Before he got hurt. Next, fill in the blank. Safety T.J. Ward calling the Broncos, quote, unprofessional for cutting him is blank.
Yeah.
A quick summary of the circumstances of why he's upset.
Yeah, he just doesn't like the way he was told that he was released. He was hurt for most of the preseason. He felt if this was the route they wanted to go, they could have let him know instead of waiting the entire time all the way. They thought as he was healthy, he was going to be getting ready for week 1, like everything was just how it was going to be, and then he ended up getting released. He didn't like it. I mean,
been a leader on that team.
Yeah,
sort of said,
he has.
Maybe they could have owed me a little something.
You know what this is? Business. At the end of the day, I've always said that. You know what? You can think you have a better relationship than some, a more personal relationship with some. At the end of the day, this is a business. You get paid large sums of money to perform for a team, and a team has to make decisions about those people and who are making that money. And at the end of it all, don't take it personal. It's a business.
Yeah, in fact, if I were to fill in the blank, I would say him calling the Broncos unprofessional for cutting him is the opposite of right. It is totally professional. It is purely taking into account the best interest of the football team, and we see teams do it all the time. Is it right? I mean, I don't think so. Look, I'm going to bring up a Jets example again. But the year that they traded for Favre, they gave Chad Pennington his unconditional release immediately because he had been such a good player and such a good soldier for them all those years. Rather than figuring out a place to trade him and whatever it is they could do, they just let him go. You know what he did? He signed in the division. He became the comeback player of the year. He led the Dolphins to the playoffs, and he beat the Jets the last week of the season. Does that mean it was the right thing or the wrong thing to do? I mean, who's to answer that question?
Yeah.
And you treat people the right way. Maybe in the big picture it comes back to serve your purposes. All right, next. Of the following options, a 4-home run game, a perfect game, or a 20-strikeout game, the one you would most want to accomplish is blank.
Again, there have been 5 20-strikeout games in the history of baseball in 9 innings. There have been 18 4-home run games and 23 perfect games. I think I'd want the 4 home runs.
I'd want the perfect game. I think there's something about going out there as a pitcher, 27 outs. To me, that would be one of the two. 4 home run games. I mean, I'm not saying that I would turn my nose up at any of these, but it would definitely be one of the two pitching things. 20 strikeouts would be so dominant. I mean, you would just have guys. That would be great fun. Not that I would know exactly what it would feel like, but I think to walk out there and go 27 up, 27 down, I think would be sensational.
Okay, 20K game, 4 home runs in a game, perfect game. There's one major league team
that has done all 3?
Yep.
I mean, the obvious thing to guess, generally speaking, is the Yankees. Do
Not
they
the
have
Yankees.
the 20 strikeout game is what I'm thinking.
Not the Yankees. It's a really, really good, tall, fast left-handed pitcher in a team he played for.
Randy Johnson?
Yes, the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
He had the 20K game 20 strikeout in 2001, perfect game in 2004, and then they just had the 4 home run game.
Okay, good. I like that one. Next, the filling in the blank. The Cavaliers reportedly shopping the Nets' number 1 pick is
telling. I mean, it's saying they're pushing all the chips in for this year. Let's get a player now. Let's try and win this thing now. Let's and if we win it, how can LeBron leave?
I'm going to say yes. I agree with you, and I will use the word smart. I think it's smart. I think if your primary objective is to keep LeBron James, the best way to do it is to win a championship this year. They don't have the pieces to win a championship this year right now. I think that even if you want to argue that they got better with Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder than they were with Kyrie, they're still not enough better to beat Golden State.
I agree with that.
If they turn that pick and Kevin Love into Anthony Davis, they are.
I don't know if they'd be favored, but they'd be one hell of a lot closer.
Shot.
Exactly.
You give LeBron James a season with Anthony Davis.
Listen, I can't argue with that.
That would be the scariest combination of players. LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Would it be overstating it to say that would be the scariest 1-2 punch the league has seen?
Pretty darn scary.
Maybe since Magic Johnson and Kareem? I mean, what would be scarier than that? That would be scarier than Curry and Durant.
In a game that doesn't really use the bigs a lot anymore, that would be one.
And Davis
the way
is
he
such
plays.
a fluid big.
I know.
All right, one more quickly because I want to save the last one for a bigger conversation. Tom Herman should feel blank after Texas's season-opening home loss to Maryland.
Embarrassed. Just embarrassed. The way that team played, the way they were down, they were getting smoked in that game. 27-7 in the second quarter at one point. 30-14 at halftime, I think. They were getting smoked. Now they started to mount a comeback, but just horrible from what they were to what was left in the cupboard to what this first performance was. Listen, kudos to Maryland. Let's give them all the credit in the world for doing what they did. But on the people that are focusing on Texas, man, that was an ugly start.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if Charlie lost that game that way, think about the conversation they'd
Without
be having
question.
today.
This is supposed to be the start of the new era and new kind of play and all that, and it just was not there.
Fill in the blank. Brought to you by Mahindra Tractors and Utility Vehicles. All right, all around the college football world as we continue next. Get Golik's take on all the things we saw, including, I think, maybe a Just Shut Up nominee. Stu Gotts, Darren Woodson, and Paul Feinbaum still on the way, but
Sports fans anywhere can earn a nationally recognized degree from Penn State online. Whether you're starting or finishing your degree, study where and when it's convenient for you. Choose from more than 125 programs to become a top prospect in your field and advance your career. Learn more at worldcampusinfo.com. Penn State World Campus, a world of possibilities. Online. Visit worldcampusinfo.com today. That's worldcampusinfo.com.
Golik's going to go through some of the interesting college notes of the weekend in just a moment, but very quickly, I think Hembo sent a really good stat here as we're doing the hashtag Too Far Tuesday, your predictions, and some of the things that sound crazy, like, for example, the Falcons missing the playoffs. Right now, that sounds nuts. Right? How could they miss the playoffs? Well, again, a year ago today, if we'd said the Panthers are going to fall to 6-10 and miss the playoffs, it would have sounded crazy. And last year, there were 9 teams, this is the note from Hembo, there were 9 teams that had better odds to win the NFC last year than the Falcons did. They were 40-1 to win the conference before the season. They had the same odds as the Bears, who finished 3-13. Matt Ryan had 100-1 odds to win MVP, the same as Jay Cutler and Ryan Tannehill. So anyone who says, well, we saw the Falcons coming, unless you made a whole lot of money, I don't believe you. You didn't put your money where your mouth was because there was a lot of money to be made if you saw the Falcons coming. So who's that team this year? Would it be crazy to say it could be the Eagles? You know,
No.
with a young quarterback to come into his own? I don't think that would be crazy.
I don't think it would be crazy. Not at all, no.
Titans.
But those are like all right picks. I don't think anybody saw Atlanta coming, right?
I mean, I certainly
from
didn't.
the odds standpoint.
Yeah, I didn't.
You
see
knew
them
they
coming.
had offensive firepower, but there were some questions about the O-line. They get Alex Mack to stabilize that at center. And then there were certainly questions about defense, but we know what Quinn is getting. He's getting fast players to try and have that speedy, aggressive defense.
Would Tampa meet that standard? Would that be a huge surprise?
Considering you
to
have
people?
the 2 last Super Bowl teams from that division, I guess not crazy.
Keep them coming. Hashtag Too Far Tuesday through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Nothing makes up for your football obsession like a surprise from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for $29.99, you get an extra bouquet for free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. All right. College football weekend number 1 behind us. Golick, some thoughts.
Let's look at, who are the 3 quarterbacks we keep talking about to the next level next year, the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, and Josh Rosen. So how did they all fare? How did it go with them? Well, not so good for Wyoming and Josh Allen. They got smoked by Iowa 24-3. Allen 23 of 40, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Didn't look good. So not a great start for him and a chance to go against, a Big Ten team, and try and show your wares a little bit.
Yeah.
Didn't go so well. You look at Sam Darnold, USC, a team that was trailing in this one. They were playing Western Michigan. They trailed 24-14 in the third quarter. And this close, they were a 28-point favorite in this game, and they were down. Western Michigan was having success running on them. Darnold started out shaky, ended up 23 of 33 for 289. He had a rushing touchdown, no passing touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. So, you look at that from a stat standpoint. He had a lot of completions, though, and a nice comeback in that one. But the game was a little shakier as a team than most thought. And
Speaking of nice comebacks,
holy smokes! And then you get to UCLA and Texas A&M, a 34-point comeback, second largest in FBS history. Just ridiculous what was going on in that game, how much Texas A&M were blowing the doors off of UCLA. They come back all with the fake kneel down as well, touchdown pass. Rosen ends up throwing 59 times in this game, completes 35, doesn't throw 1 interception, and throws 4 touchdowns. So that was a great comeback for them, which looked to be a shaky, bad start, and would have been 2 of 3 losses if they had lost like Wyoming and Josh Allen did.
Can I make an admission?
Go ahead.
I turned that game off. I did. I didn't see it.
That's not a horrible admission.
I woke up that game was Sunday. I woke up yesterday in a state of shock when I saw the
was
first thing
amazed.
I see is my ESPN stat pack, and I start reading UCLA miracle comeback. I could not believe. I
was stunned by that. On the other side of it, for an A&M, Nick Starkel, their quarterback, I think it was the third quarter, they lose him. He's gone, and then. Was Sumlin, the coach at A&M, already on some hot water. The one guy on the board of regents posts on Facebook talking about, I've kept my mouth shut and hadn't talked about this about Sumlin or that about Sumlin, but now I can't do it anymore. Dude, seriously? I mean, week 1, this is what you post. This is what you want to have out there. Start the turmoil. So basically anybody is going to think, oh, my God, one of the board of regents is crushing him. Let's all do it now. I mean, I can't believe that happened in week 1. I think Sumlin is in trouble. I completely agree with that. But to have someone on the board of regents do that in week 1, the post that they had on Facebook, I think it was ridiculous.
He's an attorney from Houston named Tony Busby, who started his Facebook post by writing, I'm sure I may be criticized for this post, but I honestly don't care.
Yeah, keep it to yourself, dude. Don't hit send. And then let's give it up for Howard, right? Howard played UNLV. Yeah. They were 45-point underdogs. 45-point in Vegas underdogs. They won the game 43-40. Quarterback Howard? Cam Newton's younger brother.
Right.
Kalen Newton, he ran for 190, passed for 140. They pull off that upset. Unbelievable job out of them.
And they got paid $600,000 to play the game.
So UNLV paid $600,000 to have somebody come in and beat them in the biggest underdog to victory game there's been.
Yeah.
45-point dog. And then the story of the weekend, no doubt about it, was in the USC game in their win over Western Michigan when they came back in that one and got control in that game. Jake Olson is a guy we followed through the years. He had been a crazy USC fan, and he had a disease where he lost his sight, I believe when he was either 12 or 13. Yep. Was going in the day they knew it was going to happen, such he had been to practices. They had treated him like a king at practice, really brought him into the fold at USC. Now, he's a long snapper there. He's on the team, old enough now on the team, and he went out late in the game and snapped for an extra point on that. He had to hold on to a teammate, and they place him up there, and obviously you can't hit the snapper in football anymore. Perfect snap. and the kick was good. I mean, what a great moment that was for a kid who just grew up a great USC fan and went through what he went through and how that team just embraced him. And it came to fruition on the football field. Really an amazing story.
It was a great moment that went really beyond football.
Yeah.
I met him actually several years ago at Dick Vitale's gala in Florida when he was still little, not nearly old enough to be in college. So, yes, of all the things that happened on football fields across America this weekend, that was the best. Coming up next, against our better judgment.
Oh, boy.
Stu Gotts, live on Mike and Mike.
First time skydiving?
Sure is.
Okay, you just open the door like this and you jump. Oh, wait.
Should we be like in tandem?
Tandem? That's a great idea.
Are you a certified instructor?
No, but I love parachutes and I love people. Here we go.
You wouldn't take chances with an uncertified skydiving instructor. Don't do it with your finances. Find a certified financial planner professional today at letsmakeaplan.org. CFP. Work with the highest standard.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico...